They have not left. So as far as we are still here, most of them, they are there. They're still under Azimio, and therefore they belong to this party. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, one of the things you are accused of was impartiality. Even through your demeanor and how you actually are giving people a chance to speak here and how we are, that impartiality still shows. I don't know whether that decision means that you're the one who's going to decide on whether who is going to be, because if it is you, we know which side you're going to go. Please let us have somebody else come and make the decision. Thank you.
Odinga, you are grossly out of order. You are grossly out of order. Bring a motion and discuss the speaker, if you wish. Ruto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate you and thank you for the leadership you have shown to this House for the last 2.5 years. You have read us with a lot of wisdom and acumen. Also, Mr. Speaker, I want also to congratulate the majority leader, Kimani Ichung'wah, because for the last 2.5 years he has done an incredible job. Mr. Speaker, judiciary delayed this ruling for 2 years, and they say, as they say, justice delayed is justice denied, Mr. Speaker. This does not say that the ruling is spot on. Mr. Speaker, the separation of powers, as far as our Constitution is concerned, is a very critical principle which underpins the way the three arms of government should be able to operate at work. Mr. Speaker, if you refer to the political parties, to the registrar of political parties, you'll be able to get the results or the membership of parties within the coalitions. And this will give you a very straight answer on which side is the majority in this House. I am sure this is not a difficult ruling. It's not a difficult thing for you to do, Mr. Speaker. You'll be able to retreat and come up with an answer guided by the registrar of political parties. And I am sure the results will be that Kenya Kwanza Coalition is the majority in this House. And therefore, we stand to produce the leader of majority, the leader of minority, the leader of
Oundo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, I'm going to close this debate at 6. So those I'll give space. Please compose your idea.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As a country, as members of Parliament, we swore to protect the Constitution of Kenya. Respecting a court decision is not a matter of discretion. It is a must. Until the High Court decision is appealed or set aside, we have no other option but to accept and obey the court decision. Honorable Speaker, the ruling has brought us to 4. When is an election held? When are the results announced? And once the results are announced, does any other body in this country have the power to change the composition of the membership of this parliament? Honorable Speaker, elections were held in August 2022. The numbers were very clear. The numbers have not changed. And Article 108 is very clear what becomes what and what becomes what. Honorable Speaker, the ruling you are being invited to make is generally not even a ruling. Until we annul the court order, then we have no choice that the decision you made has been annulled, and the decision you made then was to say Kenya Kwanza was the majority party. The other opposite is very simple, straightforward. That if it was annulled, you have to go back and find the details. Who was the majority party then? Because the decision was being annulled is that particular decision. I do not know what else we are supposed to do. On the issue of your position as Speaker and the member of for the Kenya party, is neither here nor there. Because that's, we leave it to your conscience. Whether it impacts your impartiality or not, we leave it to your conscience. You are an elder. We respect you. We would not want to go into that matter. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Bissau.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I received this ruling and I've read it very clearly. I've also listened to the lawyers in the House, but surprisingly, starting with the first item, whether it is correct for you to remain the party leader of Fort Kenya and at the same time be the speaker, our constitution is very clear. Article 77(2), it talks about an appointed officer who shall not hold a political party position. But you are not you are not an appointed state officer. You are elected. And my neighbor here, Dr. Bokosa, I remember he was your chief agent. And many of us voted for you, including my brother, your senior counsel, your learned friend, Atendo Molo, who actually voted for you. So that, we pack it and we leave it at that. And even across the border, your colleagues, Annette Among, she's the Speaker of Uganda. She's actually, in fact, even now vying for a position in NRM. Dr. Tulia Axon, she's also an elected person. So there's nothing that is restricts you to remain the Fort Kenya party leader and be the speaker at the same time. On the other issue, about the majority and minority, I have read this ruling very clearly. But again, our courts have not come out clearly to say what is what. And if you look at Roman 3, on their decision, it talks about an order of certiorari is hereby issued quashing the Honorable Speaker's ruling or determination contained in his communication from the chair made on 6th October 2022 on the majority and minority in the National Assembly.
Thank you. Yeah. Give him half a minute.
What we expect is our courts to be giving us very clear ruling. The court is telling you retreat and tell us who is the majority in this case. They've mentioned both the minority and the majority, minority and majority, and they're not saying who is what. So we also expect that our courts give us very, very clear direction. So what we require from you, Chair, is to give us direction and give us a decision to know who is actually the majority and who is the minority. Thank you, Mr.
Yes, Kimani Chungwa. Give him the mic.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mine is on a point of order, Honorable Speaker, on a matter of decorum of the House. Because, Honorable Speaker, I was just perusing through what is going on my phone.
Yes.
And I saw the Honorable Selassie, the member for Mumias,
Yes.
is live streaming
The proceedings of the
the
House.
proceedings of the House, recording himself from his seat at the back. Honorable Speaker, the House and the Parliamentary Service Commission has given us live coverage on national TV, and we cannot belittle the work of this House through such uncouth methods as live streaming, recording on your phone and live streaming what is going on in the House, and saying very unpalatable things on live media. Now, request that you ask him to even delete those things and apologize to the House.
Honorable Salasia, is that correct?
Speaker, you know, most of the time when I've been staying here for a very long time without being given an opportunity to speak.
Honorable Salasia, is what is being alleged correct?
I don't know what he's talking about because I don't run my social media platforms. So, Speaker, I've been carrying out my hand.
Honorable Salasia, the issue is, are you live streaming the proceedings and making unpalatable comments along the way?
Speaker, I don't know what the Mheshimiwa Chungwa is talking about. What I just wanted, I also have my own contribution.
Honorable Salasia, be honorable, my dear young man. If you are not honorable, it's very easy for Parliament to ask for the logs on your phone and see what you are doing. If you say it is true, then the Speaker will take some other remedial action. If you don't, it's a matter that can find your way to the Powers and Privileges Committee with unintended consequences. Why are you doing so?
Maybe, Speaker, maybe I'll have to confirm with what he's talking about.
Honorable Selassie, you know dishonesty is not a virtue.
Speaker, I don't know what he's saying. Maybe I go and confirm what he's talking about, but I'd also just raised my hand so that I can speak what I feel that I should speak.
Order, Honorable Selassie. I believe when you are in the chamber, you are listening and following proceedings. Take your seat. You are listening and following proceedings. And what we are discussing this afternoon is a very serious matter. The independence of this House is an issue. The leadership of this House is an issue. And every member who has spoken here, you've listened, your seniors, your peers, have been very focused. Even members who have sat for a long time, you complain that you've been raising your hand. There are many, Lotte here has been sitting here since. We have Ferdinand Wanyonyi here, Amze, has been sitting here since. The issue is, were you streaming the proceedings live and making comments along the way? Comments that your colleagues are saying are unpalatable. And that is the issue that has been raised by the member for Kikuyu.
Speaker,
you've even forgotten to switch off your phone. It's still streaming, I'm told.
yeah. So I don't know, maybe Honorable Juma can say maybe what I've said.
Honorable Selassie, what I'll do is I'll instruct the clerk to get the logs on your phone, and if I find that what is being alleged is correct, then I'll invite a member to file a complaint and refer it to the Powers and Privileges Committee for appropriate action. You can also be named. Yes, Wamumbi? Yes, okay. Robert Mbui, I'll give you an opportunity to contribute. Clerk, proceed to get the details on Honorable Selassie's phone and furnish with the Speaker immediately. Robert Mbui, proceed to contribute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, first I find this debate a little misplaced because I don't know whether as a House we are supposed to be discussing court rulings and, because I thought that generally what we do with court rulings is implement them. But we have spent the whole afternoon discussing this issue of the court ruling, whether the judges were right or they are wrong.
Robert Mbui, if you listen to the beginning, don't take us back. When Emilio Odhiambo, who is your leader, raised the issue, you are here. And the House was given direction by the Speaker. So I expect your contribution to tell the House which way you want us to go. But to go back and say for the last 3 hours we have been exercising in futility, you are taking a wrong trajectory. I know you are senior and a leader, should have given you an opportunity at the beginning, but you also started off by very unorthodox conduct.
Mr. Speaker, I was only trying to claim my position as a deputy leader of the majority based on the ruling that we read of the court. But Mr. Speaker, the issue of majority, which is what we are discussing, is not an issue, in my opinion, that's supposed to be decided either by the Speaker or even this House. This is a decision that is made by Kenyans when they cast their ballots at the end of the last, at the elections. And Mr. Speaker, even the issue of that you're supposed to make a ruling or you're supposed to say who is majority or minority, Mr. Speaker, really what you're supposed to do is convey the information that has come from the from the register of political parties when they indicate how many members are in each coalition. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that what is happening in Kenya now, Mr. Speaker, and why I think we are having this problem is because Parliament and politics in Kenya has become very indecent. Mr. Speaker, it's important that when people are elected in a certain coalition, they spend their 5 years in that coalition. And Mr. Speaker, if anyone feels that they do not want to belong to that coalition, The law is also very clear that you can go and seek a fresh mandate. But you know what we have been doing here, Mr. Speaker, is that people are elected in one party in the middle of the term, they jump ship and go to another party. Our leader, Raila Odinga, was in a party and he was dissatisfied. He left, went for a by-election, was re-elected, was brought back to the house. This business of people just crossing, I think, Mr. Speaker, is a problem, and that is why we are here today. Otherwise, I want us to respect the court ruling. Majority is the Azimio, and the minority can take up their position on the other side. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Robert Mbui. Ferdinand Wanyonyi.
The Speaker, thank you very much for the chance. I think I've sat here and
Don't
I've listened
complain. Just go on.
Contribution to everybody. So I think I should retreat to go to look at this, Mr. Speaker. I think the best thing is look at the coalition we had before election and after election. See which coalition has which numbers. And that if you have got the number, you don't be able to know who the members are. And given that, you can be able to, because as I see, we are late. We are
Order, women rep, Migori.
Yeah. So
Yes.
we.
Order. Yes, go on, Ferdinand.
You know. So what I was saying is that, Mr. Speaker, as you retreat, I think we need to look at the coalition. If it's Azimio, how many people are there? Because people have moved out, the others have come in. See how many, Kenya Kwanza, how many people are there to be able to know who the majority is. It's as simple as that, so I can be able to move forward. I raise my case.
Thank you, Kimani.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. On the issue of whether the Speaker is supposed to belong to any particular political party, the law is very clear on every appointed and elective position that this country holds. And I've looked and there is nowhere that has a requirement. Where the law has required that a particular person belong or not to belong to a political party, the law has expressly said so. Honorable Speaker, studying this judgment, paragraph 493, just to read verbatim of this judgment, says, it will be remembered that our Constitution at Article 99 1C only singles out the Speaker as the ex-officio member of the National Assembly, and like all the other members because of his special status. Honorable Speaker, the judges that were making this ruling not even bother to read what Article 99 1C of the Constitution says. If you read Article 99 1C of the Constitution and to read it verbatim, it says qualification and disqualification from election as members of Parliament. So one, unless disqualified under clause 2, a person is eligible for election as a member of Parliament if the person A is a registered voter, B satisfies any education, moral and ethical requirements, C is nominated by a political party or is an independent candidate who is supported. And therefore, even the reference to that article of the Constitution that they purport to quote for this particular judgment, Honorable Speaker, is not what the law says. And therefore, the question we're asking ourselves, should the judiciary either interpret the law or make the law? Because even by them quoting a reference that completely unrelates to that particular judgment, creates an attempt to make a law, which they shouldn't do, their work should be to interpret. My submissions, Honorable Speaker.
Before I give the next, Honorable Salasia, I'm told you want to not to contribute because you are under quarantine on the issue raised. The clerk tells me you want to say something to that?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that whatever Mheshimiwa Ichung'wah said, if I felt like maybe it was in bad intention, maybe I apologize. But Mr. Speaker, also, as we people...
Order, Honorable Salasia. Were you recording? Because you say if, you know, it's like there's no remorse. If you are recording, it is not permitted by our standing orders. So if you did that, I want to guide you as a young member, and I want you to grow in your leadership. There is a lot of decency, and the Bible says the greatest word in human relations is one word called sorry. If you did that, say sorry, and delete those logs, and we go on.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, I apologize and withdraw and delete.
delete all those logs and let the clerk confirm. Waluke John.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this chance. Honorable Speaker, the ruling of the High Court.
After Waluke, I'll give 2-3 others, then we close.
The ruling of the High Court, Speaker, was overtaken by event because it has taken almost 3 years, and the case was filed with the certificate of urgency, where the 3-bench judge could have acted very quickly and gave the ruling immediately. Mr. Speaker, there is nowhere where it says that the Speaker cannot hold any political office, Mr. Speaker. There's nowhere. So, Mr. Speaker, make the ruling on the side of majority and minority, Mr. Speaker. These two, the difference is very little in terms of, there's no difference in terms of salary or in terms of working, Mr. Speaker. So time is, there are people now aligning themselves politically for the next general elections, Mr. Speaker. So time is of essence, and we plead that, Mr. Speaker, the members of this House also need to consider that we are almost going to elections. So the two should be left the way they are, the majority and the minority. I don't see any hedge that can force to say that.
Timothy Kipchumba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Article 31 of the Constitution provides that everyone has an obligation to respect, protect, and uphold the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, we therefore as a House have that obligation to respect the court decision. Honorable Speaker, the decision of the court, the effect of it is that it declared your ruling a nullity. Honorable Speaker, however, I have read that ruling. Honorable Speaker, I beseech you not to proceed to issue a direction on this matter until this matter is appealed before the Court of Appeal. Honorable Speaker, there are unsettled matters in that decision that must be subjected to the test of the Court of Appeal. Honorable Speaker, one of the issues touches on your election to the office of the Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you may not be able to render a decision on that particular part of the ruling. Honorable Speaker, so that we are safe as a House, it is good to subject, if we can get a stay, so that the status quo, not status quo ante, but the status quo before this ruling obtains, then, Honorable Speaker, it will be safe and it will protect this House. Honorable Speaker, whichever decision you make in this House, it will have a political impact. So, Honorable Speaker, my opinion is this decision is appealed. We retain the status quo as it is, not the status quo ante. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Reading through the ruling of the High Court, Mr. Speaker, it makes me to believe that you are better qualified lawyer than the 3 judge members that made the ruling. Why am I saying this, Mr. Speaker? One, I listened to the ruling 3 years after, Mr. Speaker, in a matter that was filed as a matter of urgency. And then they are giving the ruling 3 years after. It tells you about the dysfunctional court systems that we've got. Because if they can do this in this House, in a matter as weighty as this, Mr. Speaker, what are they doing to the common mwananchi? How are those cases of the common mwananchi ruled? The last one, Mr. Speaker, is when this decision was made in October 2022, Mr. Speaker. I am a member of the Azimio coalition. We contended that year, Mr. Speaker. But that time, we had 171 members of the Kenya Kwanza coalition, and of the Azimio coalition, and 165 members of the Kenya Kwanza. But, Mr. Speaker, there was a letter that was written by several members of the Azimio coalition, and 14 members exited. And it is based on that, Mr. Speaker, that you made a decision and say that because the 14 members have exited the Azimio and have gone to the Kenya Kwanza, then the Kenya Kwanza becomes the majority party. The Political Parties Act number 10, Mr. Speaker, is very clear about that, that 21 days after an election, the political parties can shift, and as long as they write letters and officiate their agreements, then it is accepted. 6th of October, 21 days had elapsed, and I think and I know that you got those letters. So you made a ruling, Mr. Speaker, that
Rahim, you made your point. Rahim.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first of all, you are not a leader of the Luhya nation. You are a national leader, so I want to correct that misinformation which was done earlier. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, 2 members of parliament have cast aspersions on you, and I think it was completely out of order. I was here when Speaker Muturi was being impeached, and he was on that seat where you are now sitting. So I think the 2 leaders need to apologize. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, we as the independents, I think we're not being counted at all. Because if, as Emil said, there were 174 and Kenya Kwanza is 165, the 10 members who aligned with Kenya Kwanza makes it 176. So, Mr. Speaker, Azimio is just a name which is there. Mr. Speaker, it's stillborn. It's not at all anywhere where ODM is on its own, Wiper is on its own. So let us not be told about Azimio, Mr. Speaker. Like one of the members has asked my friend Honorable Junet, where is the address of Azimio, and he does not know. So Mr. Speaker, this one, Azimio does not exist at all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I can be shouted down, but Azimio does not exist.
Member for Kinango. He will be the last.
Mheshimiwa Spika, kwanza nataka nikushukuru, na kwa sababu dakika ni 2, niliposoma judgment hii nilikumbuka mwaka 1982 wakati litangazwa hapa nchini kwamba kuna jaribio la mapinduzi. Hii judgment tuiangalie kwa jicho jingine, kwa sababu naona kama kuna njama kutoka kwa mahakama kujaribu kuipendua bunge hili. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, wakati unapokwenda kupumzika na kuandika hii judgment, ni mpaka pia tujue tunaelekea wapi. Mwisho, Mheshimiwa Spika, tunaishi kama familia tunapokuwa hapa bungeni. Lakini naomba niulize wale ndugu wanaojiita kwamba ni watu wa Azimio, je, huu mnaofanya ni ungwana? Kwa sababu hatuwezi kuwa wakati wote tunazungumza tukijua kwamba sisi ni jamii moja. Mahakama ilitoa maamuzi ndio, lakini ilipewa maombi 34 na ikajibu machache, 6 hawakuweza kujibu, na hatujamaliza siku 14 za kukata rufani. Leo tayari hapa tuko katika kizimba, kana kwamba tulikuwa hatuwezi kusubiri siku 14 za rufani ndio mambo kama haya yakaletwa. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, nenda ukakae chini, lakini kumbuka kwamba kitengo chetu cha mahakama kina njama fiche ambayo hatujajua lengo lake ni nini, Mheshimiwa Spika. Lakini sisi kwa sababu tunaheshimu mahakama, tutakata rufani, na matokeo ya rufani ndio yatakayokuwa yanaweza kuongoza mwelekeo wa jumba hili. Lakini mambo ya jumba hili yatamalizwa na nyumba hii, si watu wa mahakamani kuja kutupangia tutakwenda kwa njia gani. Mheshimiwa Spika, nafikiri wanafahamu vizuri kwamba hii nyumba ina kinara, na kinara ndiye atakayetoa maamuzi yake ya kujua kwamba tutakwenda namna gani kama bunge. Kwa hivyo kwa hayo
Wanjala, what is it? Yes, let me hear the point of order from the Deputy Speaker first.
Honorable Speaker, earlier when I had contributed to the debate, I did notify the House that during the time, during your absence, when the court case came out, I asked the clerk of the National Assembly to write to the Registrar of Political Parties confirming the arrangement of parties and the numbers together with their coalition agreements. So I want your permission, Honorable Speaker, to table it.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
And table them and pass them on to the clerk. Wanjala, what is it, Wanjala? I have said the Kinango member will be the last.
I just want to debate equally,
Okay,
Mr.
be
Speaker.
the very last. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
No.
Mr. Speaker,
Wanjala had not debated. He just rose on several irrelevant points of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is true, Mr. Speaker, without any doubt in my mind, that Mr. Speaker, it is true.
Yes.
And the Speaker, some of us have been point of order, Speaker.
Yes, Karani.
I am been raising up my hand from the time we came in, and Wanjara has spoken.
I will just seek an opportunity to speak instead of making Wanjala reference. Wanjala has been rising on several irrelevant points of order, but he has not contributed. Okay, after Wanjala, I'll give you Karani to close. Okay, Wanjala, give him the mic.
Mr. Speaker, I know you as somebody who understands law. Mr. Speaker, in this House, not all of us are lawyers, not all of us are competent to critique the ruling of the court. Mr. Speaker, you have been in courts. You always know that court orders, Mr. Speaker, anybody with doubt, always go for appeal. If you are not in doubt, then implement it. Mr. Speaker, when we are here and each one of us is trying to debate, is trying to say what he wants, some of us are not competent as lawyers, and we want to talk about the rulings. Mr. Speaker, we are going nowhere. Mr. Carol Omond was very clear on what is supposed to be done for us to resolve this issue. Mr. Speaker, anybody who is aggrieved will always go for court of appeal.
There is a point of order from member for Matuga. Yes, Tandaza. Go ahead.
Is the honorable member in order to say that we are not competent to discuss a matter before us? Is he in order?
He is out of order. And he is discussing. Go on, Wanjala.
Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we have a procedure to withdraw from coalitions. You just don't write letters, right, left, center. We have a procedure to move out of our political parties. You have to resign, you have to go back for re-election, for a by-election. So anybody purporting to have withdrawn as an individual from anybody purport to have withdrawn from Azimio and yet did not follow the procedures, Mr. Speaker, that is still null and void. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we call upon you that we don't want people wakupake uchafu. You are clean. We want you to do a proper thing by giving Azimio their rightful position. If anybody is doubting, go for appeal. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, Kirima. After Kirima, we close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mine will be very brief, but just to state what the Constitution says, that this House and the courts and the executive, they are just creatures of the Constitution. And the Constitution has to be respected as it is. This House being a quasi-judicial body, it hopes to have its own independence without being interfered with by any other body, because all the bodies, the three bodies which are creatures of this Constitution, cannot be interfered by each other. And by the time the ruling was being given, being an officer of the court and having been in the court for quite a long period, the court usually asks if it's intent to give a ruling as pertains to the status quo of a position. What is the status quo, or what is the position at that time when it is delivering the ruling? And in this issue, the court gave the ruling as it was in the year 2022, which means it has taken a lot of about 3 years before it can give the ruling on the status quo of the position. And things have shifted because when it comes to politics, and the interpretation of the law as it is, status quo is not cast on a stone. It shifts as per the situation on that material particular time when things are taking place. Mr. Speaker, sir, if you can allow me, if you look at Article 95 of the Constitution, Article 95 of the Constitution states very clearly that, Speaker, the law of the National Assembly, one of it is that the National Assembly represents the people of the constituencies and special interest in the National Assembly. But second one, it says that the National Assembly stops on issues which concerns the people. What is being debated in this house today concerns our people because we have been given that rule and that provision by the Constitution. And Mr. Speaker, it is true. As it is today, Kenya Kwanza government is the majority in this house and we cannot deny it in all aspects. Taking into account that now, we're even on the broad-based government, whereby almost all members are on one side, other than few dissenting members of about that 5 members. So as it is, we should not negate what has already been earned in this house by Kenyans. Because what we are doing now is just a public relations exercise. And as for that, this ruling, as it will be appealed to, it will come to be seen that what the Speaker gave us a ruling of this House is going to start. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Honorable members, I think we have ventilated sufficiently on this matter since 2:30, 2:40. I want to thank the Honorable Millie Odhiambo for raising the matter that triggered the debate. I want to thank all of you for the tremendous input. Each one of you has had their say, except a few. To those who haven't spoken, like Martin Owino and Mulyunge and others, even when it rains, it doesn't soak everybody. Sometimes it soaks a few and others get away. So I want to tell the House I've looked at the documents that the Deputy Speaker has tabled and they are genuine and admissible. They'll form part of our direction. And I want to direct the House, one, that the matters at order number 8, which was Constitution of House Business Committee, is stepped down for reasons that you all know. 2, we will, as expected, not sit tomorrow morning because we have no House Business Committee to prioritize or program business for the House. So tomorrow morning you have a free morning. We will assemble at 2:30 tomorrow. I'll try and see if I can burn my midnight oil with my clerks and lawyers, sift through what you have said today, all of you, and advise you accordingly in the afternoon in the direction I'll give. Remember, as I said, the court quashed the decision and the ruling of the Speaker on the declaration of majority. The court has no capacity, has no power to declare who is majority and who is minority. That is a matter for the House. This is a matter for this House, and we will give you direction so that you can continue with doing your legislation, your oversight, and your representation roles in guiding our country. so that we don't lose time. Thank you so much, all of you, even those who threw brickbats at the Speaker. The Speaker is seasoned, the Speaker is mature, the Speaker is used to this kind of thing, so I have no time to begrudge anybody. Wherever you want to say anything against the Speaker, do it as long as you are doing it in good faith. I'll take it. If you do it maliciously, of course, then it begs Wanjala can deal with you. So on that note, honorable members, can you be upstanding? The House, honorable members, stands adjourned until tomorrow, the 12th of February 2025 at 2:30 p.m. Suffice to mention that Honorable Bukose, you must be here to give your statement on SHA tomorrow.
Hii kitu sasa kesho fanyeni. Wacha niwaambie sasa. Ngojeni hapana. Asubuhi mkuje 9:30. Sharp. Sasa ndio uhakishe.
Venye unasema tumefanya leo. Sasa hii.
Aje sasa.
Tuache 9 tujue itazima saa ngapi.
Tujue kama iko sawa.
Hiyo tulifanya leo. Yes.
Sasa hiyo ndio shida sasa. Nani tumefanya? Ndio jana nilikwambia. Wewe Tiambati. Leta maombi bwana. Leta na maombi bwana. Mimi sibebi. Mimi maombi. Kama insofa alienda na